The NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by Shady Rays. Let me tell you about Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. We're also brought to you by the Golf Gambling Podcast, tailor-made Stealth 2 driver giveaway. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/driver to enter today before the drawing on April the 8th. And we're also brought to you by Baseball Money is Fake, our fantasy baseball podcast. Join Blake and Ryan 3 times a week and get all of the player breakdowns and statistical data you need to dominate.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Only 2 races on the schedule, which means we push up our DFS episode here on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Like we said, DFS episode coming to you a little bit earlier this week, given the fact that we have only 2 series on the track, on the dirt track, as it were, in Bristol. It's where they take every sandbox in the Bristol, Tennessee area, and they dump it all on the track, and they make everybody play in the sand for the weekend. It's so much fun, though, Cody. I mean, it's a different approach. It was something that was a breath of fresh air a couple of years ago. It still remains the same, I think, as it was, steadily improving. I'm curious to see if they keep it the same way over the next few years, or if they refine it, or if they get rid of it altogether. But for now, let's just enjoy it, shall we?
Let's enjoy it. I hope they don't get rid of it. I enjoyed it. I think that we saw vast improvements from year 1 to year 2. Again, like we talked about before earlier in the week, I expect improvements from year 2 to year 3 as well. I'd love to see it stick around. I don't know that it needs to be on Bristol. Let's take it to Eldora. Let's bring it to Knoxville, Iowa, nice and close to me, please. I mean, there's plenty of dirt tracks already established around the country that they could race these on. I hope that at least a dirt track continues to be a part of the schedule each year. I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's so much fun to watch. Again, I grew up as a dirt track fan, going to the dirt tracks each and every week. It's fun to see the big boys, right, get out and compete on the dirt tracks in their NASCAR Cup Series cars and Truck Series cars and all that.
2025, the Daytona Dirt Race.
Oh, that you know how much? Do you know how much dirt would take for that, Rod?
I'm willing to guess that it would be, if there was an over/under on cubic whatevers. I don't know what the measurement tool is, but I would take the over on whatever it would be to fill that whole entire track with dirt.
23,000 cubic yards to fill Bristol, and it's much smaller than Daytona.
Well, okay, then multiply that by whatever it takes to get you to 2.5, and that's where you're at. So, mathematicians out there, hit the Discord channel. Yeah, tell us exactly how much dirt it would take to make the Daytona Super Speedway into a dirt track. And would it still be a restrictor plate, though? That's the question.
I don't think you would need the restrictor plates. I think that would be disastrous.
I don't know.
We
I don't know.
don't even need to have that idea. Let's go back and edit that out so that nobody ever hears that and doesn't think that it might be a good idea, Rod, because somebody might be like, hey, those guys mentioned we should look into this.
I'm just saying, if it happens, I want all the credit for it. But then if it turns into absolute utter chaos,
do you want the credit? That's what I'm thinking.
I don't want it. No.
I don't know if you want the credit for that.
I'll
There's
give it
already
right
established dirt tracks everywhere. Just pick one of those and let's go there. But
hey,
for the meantime,
dirt track out here. I wouldn't mind seeing that come out here. Let's go.
Hey, you need another California race, right? Auto Club's going off the schedule next year.
Yeah, bring it up north.
There you go.
Let's take it.
There you go.
All right. Again, it is the Food City Dirt Race. This is 250 laps rather around this half-mile track for a whopping 133.250 miles in Bristol, Tennessee. DFS prices have been out for a while now. Cody and I have been putting together our favorite drivers, and we're about to give them to you as we get started. Again, this is a two-day event for qualifying and for the race itself. Qualifying is a series of heat races that are going to take place on Saturday night, starting about 6 o'clock Eastern time. So, as always, and especially even now, right? Make sure you keep an eye on the qualifying efforts and the qualifying results, because when you build your DFS lineups, again, there's 250 laps. So there's quite a few laps out here to be had. And we've seen drivers kind of run away with some of these. So it's imperative to get the right drivers, but also paying attention to where they're starting is going to be a big thing. And watching watching those heat races, and not just because of the positions, but to see how they run on this. Again, this is a good way to scout, to figure out where you want to put, which drivers you want to put where.
Yeah, you're going to get the best idea. I mean, there's going to be some practices on Friday. You'll be able to take some from that. You'll be able to, see speeds and watch how guys are, but you'll actually be able to see them race against each other. I think they're 25 lap heat races. So that's a decent amount of racing that they'll get out there, and you'll get to take that from them. So definitely keep an eye on those. Obviously, they'll set the starting lineup for the race. Those heat races will not count towards your points or anything for your DFS lineups or anything like that. So it'll just be the main event on Sunday, but you can take a lot from that. Make sure you're over in our Discord. Again, we'll have conversations during those races, after those races. Here's what we saw. Here's what we took away. That makes us change our mind on this guy, or love this guy more, or, maybe we should play more of this guy, fade this guy, all of that fun stuff. So yeah, should be a good time. I'm excited for it. Again, I think this is going to be fun racing. You're going to need to find the guys that lead laps, because we've seen the last couple of years, it's been a couple of guys that have dominated the laps led section, but you also want to make sure you get those good finishing positions. Hope that you don't have Chase Briscoe in second place on the final corner and he ends up finishing in 22nd, because that can ruin your DFS day rather quickly.
That can take it from a really good day to a really, I want to throw a foam brick at the television day.
I'd imagine some people lost a fair amount of money on that final corner.
Yeah, well, when you try
including myself, because I had Tyler Reddick at 20-1 to win the race, but I'm over that, as you can tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You never hold on to anything.
Yeah. Don't hold on to those grudges, right?
Nope. Not a one. Not a single one. They are 15 lap qualifying races, by 15. The way, just to clarify. 15, we don't want you spreading misinformation.
Yeah. We've been accused of that too. So whatever.
I don't know why we're so salty. My kids, I was telling you this beforehand, my kids heard my salty AF comment from the other day, and they were utterly appalled at my potty mouth. So I was like, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's just,
don't be salty AF, Rod, and it'll be fine.
I will not be. I'll be dirty AF this week as we watch the truck.
Hey, maybe don't say that to your kids.
This is okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's why the explicit tag is on this, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, Cody, do we have anything to break down? I know we talked yesterday in depth pretty much about the appeal process. Obviously, we're recording this one a little earlier, so we don't know what Denny Hamlin's outcome is yet. But obviously, once we find something out, the Discord will be the first place to go for that information. But I mean, is there any other news to talk about in the meantime?
Yep, nothing else that's come out since we recorded the truck podcast. Obviously, go back and listen. You can hear our thoughts on the Colleague appeal, what all happened there, and then as well as the NASCAR team owners boycotting their meeting with NASCAR on whatever day that was, Wednesday. The days just all run together. But
Sure
yeah,
do.
we have not, obviously, we're recording a little bit early, so have not got the Denny Hamlin results yet. So we will talk about that once we find out the results of his appeal. If they don't give him those points back, Rod, I've lost all faith in the appeal system.
I've already lost all faith. I don't even care.
Well,
if they do.
true. Yeah, I think Colleague one kind of sank that ship already. But
I basically just have lost faith in a lot of stuff.
Well,
like
that's
I'm a faithless guy right now. So
yeah,
all right,
can't
well,
argue with you there.
I was gonna say, before I go to hell and take all you guys with me, let's go ahead and start talking DFS. Then obviously we said it. There's a lot of laps up for grabs on this one, 250 to be exact. Looking at some of the last couple of races, we've had people lead anywhere between 60, 50. We did have Martin Truex Jr. lead 126 laps last season in this race, and in fact, this was the year that he actually won the truck race as well. So he came out, had a good showing in the truck race, and then came out and led 126 laps in the Cup race. Didn't win that one. Nope, that one went to Joey Logano. But Joey led 61. So you do want to have somebody, as much as we say that this is probably chaotic and things are going to happen. In fact, there were 14 cautions for 82 laps last year, and yet still it was Tyler Reddick that led 99 laps. So all of these caution laps can give you laps led as well, right? If you're leading during the cautions, you're going to lead those laps. So
they will add up quickly.
They really will. So you want somebody that's going to be in the lead, which is why these high price drivers, I think, are going to be drivers that you're going to be targeting. We'll give you high price. We'll give you mid. We'll give you some value drivers to build your lineups. Like Cody points out a lot, you sometimes can fit everybody in one lineup. I feel like this week you can as well. But yeah, you don't have to. You could definitely pick and choose all the drivers that you want. Play one, play all of them. It's up to you. We're just giving you our suggestions.
Yeah, well, and this week I would say even more so than any other, at least in recent memory, like the top 2, 4, 6, then the top 7 guys from Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch. Like, I can make an extremely strong case for all 7 of those guys. I am going to have to go with multiples of lineups this week because you can find a scenario where each one of those guys leads a good chunk of laps in this, has a chance to win this race. And you can, each one, you can paint their own story. A lot of them have either been good here in the past or they're very good dirt track guys, which we saw translate a little more last season than the season before. Does that narrative continue to go forward? Joey Logano's been good both times here. Kyle Busch obviously backed into the win last season. So I think that those 7 guys up top, more so than any other week. Seems like on a general week-to-week basis, obviously the guys up top are going to be some of the best guys out there for sure, but you kind of feel like more confident in this guy's going to lead a lot of laps rather than that guy. This week, it's really, really tough to pick from this high-tier group of guys. It's you're going to have to go with multiple lineups. You're going to have to find some cheap guys, which we'll talk about later, to try and get a couple of these guys in there. It's going to be fascinating to see what ends up being the best builds of the weekend.
Yep, I agree too. And look, because the same drivers that were hot last season are not necessarily the same drivers that are hot this season right now. So that even makes it even more hard to pick from because, you look at last year, the beginning of last year shaped up a whole lot different than the beginning of this year. All the different winners we already had coming out of the gate last year, we didn't have a lot of dominance. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I think we picked some good ones. Cody, let's go ahead and start loading up their DFS cards, shall we?
Yeah. So leading off for me, this was a tough one between William Byron at 10,000 and Chase Briscoe at 10,200. I went against my heart and took Chase Briscoe at the top of the board here. Again, I'm really, really big on Chase Briscoe this weekend. Not something you're going to hear me say very often. I might not even mention his name other than in the same breath as BJ McLeod for the rest of the season, but we'll see. I am very high on him this weekend. I talked about him on the Picks show. Make sure you go back and listen to that if you haven't yet. But he finished 20th here the first season. Again, so that race was a fairly large mess. And so it is hard to take everything out of that. He finished 22nd here last year, but like I mentioned at the top, that is very deceiving finishing position because he led 59 laps. He was the fastest car at the end of the race, and if he had 5 more laps, he was catching Tyler Reddick very quickly. Decided to attempt the dive bomb, the slide job. Doesn't quite work as well in these massive stock cars as it does in a sprint car. It did not work out for him. It did not work out for Tyler Reddick. Took them both out. Parted the seas for Kyle Busch, and he won the race. But Chase Briscoe did lead the 59 laps. He was very fast here. He was very good here. I mentioned it, right? He got off to a very slow start to the season, was running with BJ McLeod. I was making fun of the guy. But he put it together a little better the last couple of weeks. You go back to last week at Richmond, and he finished in 12th position. That's not horrible. And then you go back to the Phoenix race, and that was where he ended up the 7th place race. So he does have his tracks where he is better at. He was good, very, very good, arguably one of the best cars last season. I have high hopes for him again this week. And in my opinion, this is his last chance to grab a win before the playoffs start. I don't foresee him winning anywhere else before they start. So he's got this one circled. This is going to be his chance. He's a big dirt guy. He was so close to it last season. Maybe he gets it done this year. I expect him to have that number 14 up front. He's also running in the truck race on Saturday. We didn't talk about him much in the betting episode. His odds just kind of didn't line up quite where we liked it in comparison to some of the other guys in the truck he's in. But that is laps on the track. It's more experience. I think that is going to go into his bucket and help him on Sunday. And I expect Chase Briscoe to be very good.
I'm glad you do. No, I'm just kidding. I said it on the betting show. It's very difficult for me to cheer on Chase Briscoe. But
same, Rod, same.
I know. But you look, and that's why you made
that's
a very
why you have to buy into it more when I do, because
exactly.
I don't want to.
You made a very good case. And if I were an instructor grading a paper on that, I would say that you definitely made a good argument, even though I know your heart was not all the way into it. You were probably trying to write with the hand, and your hand was like, "Stop it! Don't do that.
Don't write these good things about Chase Briscoe.
God, you can't do that. No, that goes against every fiber of your being." So, I will back your play on Chase Briscoe just very cautiously in my book, and 10-2. The reason that he's up there is because of everything Cody said. It's not as if he's plucking this out of nowhere and trying to make a case for somebody who doesn't stand a chance. Obviously, in DFS purposes, it's definitely not going to hurt to have one and or more lineups with Chase Briscoe in them. All right. My attention is turned to the winner of last week's race, and that's Kyle Larson. He's $10,900, and this is a lot to eat. I 100% understand. He's the highest priced driver on this. He may end up being chalk because people are seeing that he won last week, or he may end up not because he's too expensive. But I think that you need to at least have 1 or 2 lineups with him in it. Right now, as far as points per race go, fantasy points per race go, it's Josh Berry at 46.1. Of course, he's only run 4 races on the season, but Kyle Larson, of all the drivers that have run all 9 races this year, Kyle Larson sits atop the list at 45.4 fantasy points per race. He has done nothing short of fantastic things for you outside of that -9 that he got you that one day. A few weeks back, but last week he got you 91 in the race there in Richmond, and then 29 in Coda. Not good there, but 112 in the United Rentals Work United 500. I just wanted to say it because that was there when he led 201 laps. Look, Kyle Larson, it took him a long time to find his stride last season, right? He won Fontana, and we thought, oh, great, here we go, right? But then he sort of fell back off again after a second place finish in Vegas. He finished 34th in Phoenix, 30th in Atlanta, 29th at Austin. But then he turns around and he finishes 5th in Richmond. Okay. Now, obviously, they had Martinsville to buffer Richmond and Bristol Dirt last season. He didn't have a good day there at 19th, but at Bristol Dirt, he finished 4th, then 4th at Talladega, then 6th at Dover, then 2nd in Kansas, then 9th in Charlotte. That's when he started to get his stride back, right? He didn't win a lot of races in between then, but he started to get his stride back. And again, I'm not even saying he's got to win this race to pay off. All he's got to do is be up front and sort of finish up front. And in fact, last season in this race, he did lead 27 laps. He was one of 4 drivers to lead more than 1 lap in this race, with Tyler Reddick, Suarez, and Briscoe being the other 3. He managed a 4th place finish rather. He improved only 1 spot from his 5th place finish, but again, he ran 27 laps or in the front, which is pretty good for a day where, like we said, laps don't really get passed around all that often, especially under caution. So you're catching him on a time where he's starting to get a little bit hot. I feel like he's going to be able to, I don't know. It's Kyle Larson, right? He can drive anything that you put him in. He's drive dirt. He can drive on asphalt. He can drive lawnmowers probably as fast as humanly possible. So I would never count Kyle Larson out, especially now that you're getting him off of a win. At least a top 5 finish in this race. He'll probably lead some laps. I think he's going to be, again, he's either going to be chalk because everybody's going to see that he won last race, or he's going to be faded because everybody's like, but Kyle Larson can't win 2 in a row or can't do well 2 in a row, especially after last season.
Yeah, I think he is going to be fairly popular, but for good reason. I mean, we are a William Byron away from Kyle Larson already having 3 wins in this season. Like, the 2 races that William Byron won could have easily been won by Kyle Larson had his teammate William Byron not gotten him at the end. And it could be a whole different story. I saw a show last week, and I didn't click on it because I don't like clickbait headlines, but they were apparently talking about how is it time to hit the panic button on Kyle Larson? And I'm thinking, yeah, no, not so fast. Then, of course, he goes out, wins the race, and that probably changes everybody's tune on him. But obviously, he's a legendary dirt car driver, still tears it up all the time, the dirt cars. And he's good anywhere and everywhere except for super speedways. I always like to throw that out there because he sucks on those. But anyway, other than that, he is good always. He looked fast the first season we came here. Everybody was expecting him to dominate, win that race. He got caught up in a wreck early, ran into Christopher Bell after he wrecked, and it kind of ruined his day. But last season he was fast. Like you said, he was up front a little bit of the race, ends up with a top 5 finish. That's a solid day. I expect Kyle Larson to be good. He is going to be highly rostered, of course. I do think that William Byron is a nice pivot off of him if you want to go somewhere that's maybe not quite as popular, but you cannot make an argument against Kyle Larson here, and you've got to have him in some of your lineups because if not, you will likely regret it.
Yeah, cash lineups for sure. That's going to be a staple, and probably even in tournaments as well, because you're going to need those points that he's going to give you. You could pivot anywhere else, I'm sure, but yeah, if he comes out and has a dominating day, you don't have him. That's on you, So got to have at least one. All right. I love it. And you know what? Yeah, go ahead and write Kyle Larson off at your own risk. I feel like that's not a good angle to take on this guy. He's still too young, too talented to be ignored. Now, you can't, it's hard to stay on top of any sport for a long time, especially a sport like NASCAR, but I think he's going to make a pretty good run here over the next few years and shut us all up.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, me either. All right. Well, we've got some mid-tier drivers to get to, but first we've got to take a break and tell you about Underdog Fantasy. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a great place to get down on fantasy and player props all year long. Underdog Fantasy is your favorite NBA, NHL, and MLB daily games. Plus, they're already doing best ball drafts for the 2023 NFL season. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. Well, with all these expensive drivers, we need to find a cheaper option for you out there to take a step down in comfortably. A couple of guys I think we talked about on the betting show are on this list, and for good reason, obviously, as mid-tier drivers. So Cody, why don't you cue up who you got next?
Yes, I'm hoping that people are sleeping on him because I love this guy this week. It feels like my secret weapon for this track, at least in my opinion. Maybe everybody will be on him, and I could be wrong. But Daniel Suarez, only $8,100. Let's go back and take a look at his last 2 seasons at this track, Rod. In 2021, he led 58 laps en route to a 4th-place finish. And then last season, he led 64 laps. Had to settle for a 12th-place finish there at the end, so that part was a little disappointing, but 64 laps was impressive. We know these Trackhouse cars are good. We know they're fast. We continuously see that week in and week out. If you go back and look at every single race this season, including his dual race, including the Clash at the Coliseum, he has scored fast laps in every single one of them when it comes to DFS, and he has had some good runs, but most importantly, he has been fast and good at this Bristol dirt race. I think that was a shocker to everyone when it kind of happened again, like Joey Logano winning the race. Suarez doesn't have much of a history as far as dirt tracks go. The road courses he's been pretty good on. That's not as surprising. Came up, racing in Mexico on a lot of road courses. That's kind of how he got his start. But the dirt thing has been surprising. I'm hoping people have forgotten how good he was the last couple of seasons. And at $8,100, like that is very, very cheap for a guy that led 64 laps, led 58 laps in the 2 races we have here to look at. And so, yeah, Daniel Suarez is almost a lock for me, no matter where he starts, because if he starts up front, he's got that upside of possibly getting up there and leading those laps. If he starts farther back, you're going to get that place differential. I think he can score you a good finish either way. So Daniel Suarez is going to be in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, I do like the Daniel Suarez take. Again, it's a matter of trusting that he's going to be able to put together a full race and not get caught up in something, because unfortunately that's kind of what happens with Daniel Suarez. I mean, he'll get a good run and then eventually something will catch up to him. And it's just, it's tough. We did see him get his win, and that was exciting at Sonoma. But yeah, I mean, it's been a rough go. I would like to see more success for Daniel Suarez, and maybe part of that's him putting himself in those positions, or maybe it's just bad luck finding him. But yeah, I think because of that though, Cody, I think that might be a safe play that a lot of people are going to be off of him. At least the casual DFSers out there that don't necessarily pay close attention, the ones that just kind of throw a lineup in, they're probably not going to want Daniel Suarez, because again, at $8,100, it's a little bit difficult of a sell, because you're looking at other guys in that vicinity, and they're bigger names with much bigger upsides, I suppose, in a lot of people's minds, right? You got the Harvicks, the Bowmans, the Truexes, the Hamlins, even if you want to go up a little bit more. Those are the guys that they're going to be looking at. So I wanted to say autoplay Kevin Harvick, but this is kind of a tough track for him. I wanted to pick him, but I can't.
Yeah, I mean, again, and he's what is his price at? He's
83, right?
Insane. We talked about this last week. Just to touch on him, real quick. So 2 weeks ago, he was $8,000 salary. Last week, $10,800, as they just jacked it all the way up, and then he falls back to $8,300 this week. I believe we said that would happen. We said to watch out for it. So he's not a bad play. I did give out a play for him to be the top Ford over on the show. Also wrote that up in my article over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Make sure you check that out as well. But I do think that you can rely on him for a solid day. So it's never bad to look at Harvick when he's in this range. We talked about not playing him last week because he was too expensive. You saw that kind of play out, right? He didn't score enough points to justify that price. And he has skyrocketed the wrong direction again. Well, the right direction for us again as far as price goes. So, yeah, you could play him, but I do like Daniel Suarez here. I'm hoping he will be different. He did start the season out with 3 straight top 10 finishes. Been a little bit of a rough streak since then, but coming back to a track where he's had a lot of success on, I think he could repeat that success and hopefully maybe be that secret weapon you need to just push your lineup over the edge.
I concur. All right. Well, I am going to follow mine with Brad Keselowski. I was looking in the 7,000 range, and I saw Josh Berry, I saw Austin Dillon, I saw Bubba Wallace, I saw Ryan Preece, and I was like, I don't know. And then I saw Brad Keselowski. It's just they price him in this range where I just feel like that's the name I have to say every single week, and it's a weird thing to have to be on Brad Keselowski every single week in DFS. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, you look at it for his price. Again, he is at $7,600 this week. Last week, he was at 8,300 and he got you 51 points. The week before that, he was at 7,900. He got you 1. The week before
that's a road course, though. He sucks.
Yeah, it is a road course. It's not fun. In Atlanta, he was $8,500. He got you 56. So again, it's been a kind of a bonkers sort of a year for Brad Keselowski. We talked about just how he's sort of been on the fringe of being good. He's been fast. We've commented on how we're excited about RFK, but by and large, his average finish at 15.9. Not building a strong case for him, but on this dirt track, in 2 seasons, Brad Keselowski has finished in 11th place in both of them. So again, if you want to talk about the model of consistency, that's about as consistent as it gets. 2 11th place finishes after a 20th place start and an 18th place start. I mean, that's already 9 points right there in place differential for you, right? Because every one spot is 1 point. Then you start throwing in maybe a few fastest laps if he can get them in there. He won't lead a lap on this, but at 7,600, I'm not expecting him to lead laps. I just want him to finish in at least 11th place again, and maybe get me some. Because again, if he starts somewhere in the 24 range, if he gets me 50 points at a $7,600 clip, I'll take that. Like I like that return. If he can get me some place differential and finish in a nice solid position, nice solid 11th place again. And who knows, maybe he scoots up into the top 10 this time. I don't know. I mean, I like the potential for it to happen, but at least I know he's probably not going to finish worse than 11th because he hasn't yet in 2 tries out this track. So yeah, Brad Keselowski at $7,600. Go ahead and load him up for me. I won't go heavy on him, but I think that, this is a good, I don't know that too many people are going to be really on him to place up in the top 15 even.
He's Rod's secret weapon in DFS. You like to bring him up a lot, but it's worked out for you pretty well. We saw you brought him up for the Bristol pavement race in the fall, ends up leading a ton of laps. If it wasn't for a flat tire, likely would have won that race. And his teammate, of course, and a car that he co-owns with in Chris Buescher there ended up winning that race. So yeah, you know when to hit Brad, and he does seem like one of those guys that's priced low enough that people don't really think about him there, and he's low enough in price, but a good enough driver in solid enough equipment that it makes it work. I don't know if you saw the RFK tweet today, but they tweeted out a picture of his Hawaiian Rolls car, and they had changed the name on the nameplate above the door there to Brad Keselowski.
Oh.
So it's going to be hard for me to refer to him as Brad from now on, and I might just call him Brad Keselowski all the time.
Sometimes you don't give yourself your best nicknames, somebody else does. So all right,
that was very clever. So
that actually is absolutely clever, 100%. And look, sometimes you got to take one for the sponsors, right? And this is an opportunity where that's got to happen. So all right, well, we're down with the mid-tier drivers, so let's move on to the low and the value drivers, but we've got to take a quick break before we do that and tell you about our driver giveaway. We're brought to you by the Golf Gambling Podcast and their tailor-made driver contest. Contest is completely free to enter, and you got to have it. And to have a chance to win, you can get a tailor-made driver, an awesome tailor-made driver. The drawing is going to take place on Sunday, April the 8th, so make sure you get in by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/driver. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/driver. So there's going to be room on your roster for some lower price guys, some guys that will give you some value. I like the two that we've got for us. And we talked about them on the gambling show. Once again, this probably isn't the only one that you guys listen to, but if it is, we've got betting episodes where we go pretty heavy into detail on a lot of these guys that we talk about here. So if you would like to hear more about them, please go to the betting episode where we talk about them. I mean, we cover them enough here, but from a DFS angle. But if you want to hear a little bit more about them, hit those betting episodes as well.
Betting episode on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast? Who would have thought, Rod?
Nobody thinks about that.
But, I mean, and this goes to show you how much there is crossover between betting and your fantasy, your DFS plays sometimes. And even though these guys are on the lower tier of the DFS pricing, we still found ways to bet on them. Again, that whole you can bet throughout the field as well. So definitely go check that out. I am going to go to a guy that I have found myself to be surprised to be high on, but I can't help it. Ty Gibbs. He's at 6,700, so I kind of went to the higher end of the low tier, but he is a guy that I am very high on this week. Not much when it comes to dirt experience for Ty Gibbs. He has run some ARCA races on the dirt and ran some karts back in the day when he was younger. So there's not really much I can go to as far as statistics looking back on this, but he has proven to be solid in his time filling in for Kurt Busch towards the end of last season. And then starting off his rookie campaign this season, he's got 3 finishes in a row of 9th place on a super speedway, basically, in Atlanta, a road course in Coda, and a short track in Richmond. 3 completely different styles of racing, 3 solid 9th place finishes. Not super flashy. He's likely not going to lead you laps. He might actually score you some fastest laps. He isn't a fast car. Those Gibbs cars are strong. They're good. And I mean, you're getting a Gibbs car all the way down at the bottom here, 6,700. So he's hanging out around guys like Justin Haley, Jonathan Davenport, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, Eric Almirola. Those guys are all in this general vicinity, and he is clearly in the best car of them. And he's been getting nice, solid results for you. Last week, like I said, he started 14th, moved up to 9th. Not much, but 42 points. Again, at this price point, that is perfectly fine. I will take that. He was actually $7,300 last week on his salary. This week, it's dropped to $6,700. Again, there is a little bit of unknowns on Bristol Dirt because we've not seen it from him before. He didn't really run in the Truck Series. I don't know that he's ever started a race in the Truck Series, honestly. He just jumped straight to Xfinity, but we know this kid is uberly talented. There is no question about that. And I don't think a bunch of people are going to be on him because we don't know what he's going to do. So I think this is your chance to get in, and maybe you strike gold the first time he's out, and you hit it before next year. He's way higher priced because by that time he's possibly winning races and had a good performance this season.
Yeah, again, this Gibbs thing is going to continue to move on, and he's going to get so much better over the course of the next. And if he's already cranking out 3 9th place finishes, there's 2 ways to go. But for a guy like Gibbs, I think there's only really one place to go, and that's start moving up that leaderboard. And you're going to be looking in the rear view very soon and seeing that 54 car kind of filling it up. So I like this play. Again, just from a sheer standpoint of he could very well put that finish in there. And look, if he finishes 9th again, I mean, that's already 35 base points. You put a few things up there. 35, it's 6,900. We're talking 4 or 5 times worth of investment. Again, I'm not good at math, so don't recheck that, but you'll take that.
Yes.
So. All right, my next driver, my value driver is coming in at $6,400, and that's Michael McDowell. Not a name we talk about often on this show at all, whether it's DFS or betting from that standpoint. But the reason I picked McDowell is not because he's a brilliant driver that gives you top 10s every week, but I tell you what, at Bristol Dirt, I don't know, he turned something on. He had a 9th place finish last season. He started 17th. That's pretty damn good right there. He started 16th in the first season, finished 12th. Not a huge place differential in that, but still a 12th place finish for a guy that is $6,400. I'm definitely going to take that all day long because that's just outside of the top 10. That's 31 base points right there. $6,400. I don't need to do a whole lot of math to know that that's pretty good return just right off the bat. That's not counting fast laps as well. So again, Michael McDowell is going to be sneaky on this track for whatever reason. He seems to find it. And then this season, it's not been all that bad for him. Like, he's at a 13th place in Phoenix, 12th place in Austin, and a 6th place last week in Richmond, right? He actually had a 26th place start in California and moved up to 18th place. So not bad there. He led 6 laps in that race as well. That was definitely on different strategy, obviously, but still. So he's not necessarily been killing you in DFS this year. It's been a pretty decent run for him so far. And like I said, at $6,400, the other guys that you're looking at in that vicinity is Eric Almirola, AJ Allmendinger, Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, Noah Gragson, Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, Ty Dillon. I love Corey LaJoie, but not on this track. JJ Yaley, Hamlin's probably going to take him out. You got Cody Ware and BJ McLeod. Like, those are your options below Michael McDowell. So if I'm going to go to the lowest part that I feel comfortable taking anybody, it's Michael McDowell there at 6,400. We know he's good finisher. He's a good finisher here. So I'll take that risk.
Yeah, I like this play as well. We talked about him on the betting show, like you said, found a good way, fun way to bet on him. He's very solid, and he's a guy, doesn't get much TV time. They don't talk about him much. Like I said, on the betting episode, he had that one flashy Daytona 500 win, obviously. But other than that, this guy will just top 15 you, top 10 you to death. And that is what you're looking for back here. He's got a fairly safe floor, and there's a little bit of upside there as well. And, it seems like some of these veteran drivers that just know how to stay out of trouble, how to take things easy, how to learn quickly, do good on these types of tracks we don't come to very often, which this is one of those types. And so he's already put in the results the previous 2 races here. So I like this as well. And again, at this cheap of a price, all those guys you named off around him, Ty Dillon, BJ McLeod, I'm not wanting to play those kinds of guys. So if I can sneak up just a little bit and fit in a guy like McDowell, I feel like that's a very solid play.
Yes, sir. Again, everybody in the 30s, beware. Denny Hamlin is coming after you. So just kidding. All right, let's get out your pen and paper, and we will go over the drivers that we have selected for this Food City Dirt Race. Why did I just literally click off of it? Oh my God, you guys. I had it on the tab and now I don't have it.
I can do the recap for you this time.
Oh, Cody, do the recap for us. Go.
All right. So I started off with Chase Briscoe, $10,200. Rod went over to Kyle Larson at $10,900. I took Daniel Suarez, $8,100. Rod went with Brad Keselowski at $7,600. That's why I wanted to do the recap, just so I could throw it out there again.
Good job.
I took Ty Gibbs as my low tier driver, $6,700. And Rod went with Michael McDowell, $6,400. You can fit all these guys in with $100 to spare. We just squeaked by. So we're pretty good. And we do not, I promise you, we did not put in the effort to try and fit these in. Beforehand, we just pick our drivers and plug them in, and then it just sometimes works out like that. Again, don't just blindly play this lineup, but keep an eye on the races, on the qualifying, all of that. And yeah, I think these are all good, solid guys you can use in your different builds, no matter where they start, no matter how they do. And I think we can expect positive weeks from all of them.
I agree with you on that, or else we wouldn't have given them to you. That's really all it is.
It's kind of how this works.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up like the main portion of our week, man. I don't know that I like only 2 circuits.
They need to extend, and man, we've been spoiled with Truck Series lately, but we're getting to periods where they're going to be gone for a few weeks at a time here coming up. So I don't like that. I think they need to expand the trucks to 36 weeks, expand Xfinity to 36 weeks, and just give us all 3 every week.
Yep.
And throw IndyCar and F1 in there too.
Yes, do that. And then whatever.
They take off way too many weeks.
Oh, they really do. We'll get into that on the next F1 Gambling Podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll lay into them for that one. But whatever. All right. Well, we'll be back with some fun again tomorrow. We'll have a special episode with a special guest, and we'll just have some more fun with you guys, and just do what we do here on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. So, all right, Cody. In the meantime, let's wrap it up and let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Follow me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my work over there. Join us in the Discord as well. Again, if you don't know how to get there, we always put it out on our Twitter and stuff, but you can hit us up over there. We'll get you in there. You could type in sg.pn/Discord, and that will take you a little shortcut to get over there. But get in there, join the conversation. It's a fun time, and we got a good group of people in there.
Yes, we do. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media. The Back Road is live and kicking it off today or tomorrow or whenever you want to watch it. It's always on demand. They got some good stuff coming out this week. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hey, man, and ladies, thanks for watching. We're having a blast doing this so far. So if you like it, like the videos, subscribe, click the bell, do all the little things you got to do. And then, of course, if you're an OG podcast listener, leave a review. Tell us how we're doing. Let us know, how you like us. Of course, if you got any comments for what we could do better, save those for the Discord. That's always more fun, so we can talk right back at you. Leave all the good stuff out there on the reviews, so that way we can keep climbing up and the bosses continue to keep us on the air. So,
Mama said if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Go on the internet.
That goes for the reviews. But hit us up privately if you have critiques. We can take that. Just don't leave it in your review.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow with another episode of the show. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.